it was 4th of July to kind of talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more that I began thinking about it and thinking about all of us, I'm like, this was supposed to be a civil conversation. I don't know if it's going to be by the end of this.
Yeah, we were thinking like maybe a light topic for today, considering all the other shit that's going on. But funny story when you talk about America, not the lightest of topics these days.
Yeah, it is. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to bring up that point that I talked about in the chat.
If it flows that way.
Yeah, it seemed like it was important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're already live, and it sounds
Cool.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Hi.
I was just trash can firing in my head.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be an uplifting thing about why he is so important.
Well, maybe we should try to keep at least sections of the conversation about how Captain America is a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard to do too. we have to cover the history of Captain America. And if we have to cover the history of Captain America, you have to cover all the times he's been a giant raging asshole.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, but I don't think we have to cover the full history because when you talk about somebody like Captain America, you talk about them as an ideal.
Yeah, it's a lot more of the symbolism.
Yeah.
We can
The
bring up here
symbolism and the
and
idea.
there that, like,
No,
of course, Captain America was Hydra for a little while, et cetera, go further back than that. But, you know, it's more about what he means to you than, you know, a retrospective.
Literally look at Chris Evans' Twitter account and be like, that's
All right,
it.
so what
Yeah.
we're basing this conversation on is the Chris Evans Captain America in the movies version, not the Mark Miller Ultimates version, not the 80s version when he was a werewolf, not the one where he said,
We're talking-
"Fuck France."
We're talking
Right.
iconic Captain
When
America.
we talk, I mean,
No, these are all iconic versions of Captain America that have existed throughout the years.
right. But when people talk about Superman, they talk about Superman in the context of like the identity or the ideal of him, right?
You know what no one ever talks
Right.
about when you talk about Superman is the very first issue of his very first comic, where it literally just throws a guy off a cliff very casually.
Yeah. Or when Batman just shoots somebody with a gun.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't what Superman is. Granted, it's right there on the first page of his first comic, but it's not who Superman is to us when we think about it and our feelings.
It's when you picture him in your head. And in fact, one of the questions I have on the list here, and I'll just give it to you beforehand so you can think about it, is, you know, when I say the words Captain America, what are the words that pop into your head, right? So keep that in the back of your mind because that's part of the feel of the discussion that we're going to be going for. Gotcha. And yes, this may take a little bit of a darker turn because we do have some things that will probably come into the conversation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we are talking about the idea of Captain America and what he means to everybody.
Awesome.
You know, so.
Don't know why there's two stats, but I'll get rid of that one.
All right, so I think we're ready to do this.
Yay.
Yeah. Let's find the mouse. It went like the furthest apart.
Why is Captain America such an important superhero? Adventures. Get ready to punch some Nazis on an all-new episode. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hey.
And with us, as always, our third chair host, Hector.
Fuck Nazis.
And if you're new to our show...
Don't actually fuck them.
Well,
Metaphorically fuck them.
yes.
And if you're new to our show, welcome. This week's Boss Room is going to be about the importance of Captain America because, hey, it's 4th of July. But before that, we have the weekly raid, which is a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. You can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated that you give to us, we put right back into this very show. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
I don't know who that is.
America.
That's Captain Falcon.
Oh, okay.
Captain
Yeah,
America.
Captain Falcon.
Captain America.
Captain
Falcon.
America.
Captain Falcon America?
You have to
Well,
follow.
the Falcon is Captain America.
It's true. So he's actually making a correct statement.
It's
there.
Except for that
basically
guy's
Rhodes.
white. That guy's very white.
He is. Well, yes.
It's the color of the color white. Not like skin color. It's the color of
Japanese
white.
don't see people. Don't see color. All right, let's do this. We have a lot of fun things.
There's some very chubby cheeks as well. Prelude.
All right, this is the prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. Hector, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Let's see. I watched a lot of GDQ this week. That was most of my.
What is GDQ?
Okay, so Games Done Quick is a ceremony held twice a year by the speedrunning community, where they basically have an entire 7-day span of speedrunning in order to benefit charity. This time, Doctors Without Borders. Sometimes it's Damn That Cancer Foundation. It's always a charitable event. They hold 2 a year. Awesome Games Done Quick, which is held in the fall, and Summer Games Done Quick, which is held in the summer. And it's great, and twice a year.
Most of what I watched this week was that.
Yeah, and every year, twice a year, I tune in and watch this for an entire week.
Yeah, you and I were just sitting at the office, just like yelling at each other back and forth.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
holy fuck!
Like they did a blindfolded. What was it? Blindfolded Punch Out on Wii Run.
Yeah. Blindfolded Wii Punch Out was amazing.
It was so good and one of the most impressive things in the world.
He beat the game 3 times while he sat there blindfolded.
With the difficulty increasing each time.
With the difficulty increasing each time.
And then beat the hidden extra boss or whatever.
Yep.
It's supposed to be impossible to beat even just playing the game. Did it completely blindfolded. It was amazing.
Okay.
Speedrunners are amazing, and we are going to be talking a little bit about how much money they raised a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a good one. The other thing I did this week is I finished Nosferatu.
Right.
And it was awesome, and I really hope there's a second season. I don't know if it'll be more Nosferatu or some other Joe Hill thing, but I'm here for it, whatever. It's
probably self-contained the way Good Omens was.
Yeah, but it was great.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad that you liked it. Haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I just checked a couple things off my bucket list, off my list this week, so I'll be able to make room for it.
Yeah.
Tony, what about you? What did you do this week?
I spent a good amount of time playing Metro Exodus.
Yeah, how is that?
It's fun. It's I'm playing on just normal difficulty. I'm not worrying about every single bullet that I'm just going to miss a lot of shots.
Right. It's immersive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very fun. I'm in the middle of the desert right now because, that's where the story went.
I've only ever played the first one, and I've read the first Metro book, which is, for those of you not familiar, it's a post-apocalyptic book. It's actually a Russian book. It's basically, nuclear holocaust happens, and people live in the metro.
Yeah, and this is a continuation of that world. Weirdly, that book is all the fuck over this game, and I do not know why they didn't see all this coming, because that book was obviously published prior to everything going to shit. Is it just me? Maybe if the book's everywhere on everybody's shelf, they probably read it at some fucking point and would have gone, so maybe we don't hide in the tunnels? Or be in Moscow when this shit's gonna go up?
So you just walk around in the tunnels and somebody will have a copy of Metro 23?
Straight up, it's on the fucking shelves all over the place. It's on the shelves in the fucking desert.
That seems...
by the Caspian fucking Sea.
That's pretty funny.
Why the fuck? What the fuck?
Hey, there were a lot of really hilarious self-referential books in The Witcher 2. I don't remember as many in The Witcher 3, but in The Witcher 2 you would go on shelves and look through for books. And there were a bunch that were just the silliest fucking references to things.
Yeah, and I get it. I get why they're putting in there. It's going, hey, by the way, this is from this book, but it's all the fuck over the place.
Yeah.
But no, the game's very enjoyable. It's a really good first-person shooter. Is it as good as, say, something like Halo or Destiny? No, its gunplay is not that fucking good.
It's entirely different.
It's entirely different type of storytelling. It's entirely different type of gameplay. The guns feel okay, but they don't feel as good as some of the higher-end just first-person shooter games.
And that's by design. The guns are meant to feel like they're going to fail on you at any moment.
And they do.
Yeah, they're meant to feel like rusty pieces of shit until you get a really good one. From what I understand...
The upgrade system's really fun in this one.
I haven't played Exodus, but from what I understand, they even added in a maintenance
you have to keep, if you don't keep your gun clean, every single time that you see a table and you don't stop and go, fucking clean my goddamn guns, your gun's going to break on you and have fun.
Right. And that's part of the fun of the Metro series.
Oh, very much so. The survival aspect.
Yeah. It really doesn't just give it to you. There's no point in Metro. When I played the first one, did I ever feel that I was ever powerful?
No.
You were really just hanging on for dear life, and that's part of the fun of it.
No, dude. I right before we started the show, I was the last place I left off, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to finish this one stupid side quest battle before we start the show, was I had nothing to make more weapons with. Nothing to make more health kits with, but I was stuck inside of a ship thing with this dude who had a machine gun, and I had to get through this door, and I had to kill him to get through this door. I died, I don't know how many fucking times, just trying to take his goddamn knees out so he'd quit shooting me. And it's like that, and you're just like, oh fuck, I've got 5 bullets. How can I kill this person with 5 bullets?
Yeah, I understand.
You start using your good bullets that are actually money.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which is horrible. Don't do that, or do to save your life. But,
Yeah,
it's gonna cost you.
Let's see here. This week we all got together so that I finally got the chance to watch Blade Runner 2047.
How'd you 2049?
2049. Sorry.
How did you feel about the movie?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. As somebody who didn't like... so my history with Blade Runner is that I watched it on the Sci-Fi Channel originally, thought that it was horrible, watched the director's cut, loved it. And now getting to watch this new Blade Runner, it was everything that you could want and more. It's a very self-contained story. It doesn't require the previous one, but it does help to do it. So it was just more of the same universe, and I was excited to jump back.
I think it actually really built on, much like John Wick 2 built on the first one.
Yeah.
The world building in 2047 was just so
49.
much. Sorry, he fucked it up, and now I'm gonna keep fucking
all
it
right.
up.
I'll keep
2049. Just it felt so much more expansive. Like how much of the world had to go to shit for these to be the things that was what's happening. It's so weird.
I don't know if Tony has seen them. I really doubt you have, James. But there are the director of Villeneuve. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it. His first name's Dennis. I'll call him Dennis, but like French Dennis. So it's like Dennis, and I don't know how to do that. So Dennis, the director of the movie, had 3 additional things made before the movie came out to try and explain what happened between the first Blade Runner and 2049. Because they're almost, 30 years apart or something like that? And 2 of them are just shot in the universe with all the same sets with a few different actors, even actors that aren't even in the main movie. Yeah. Like the guy who plays Wong in the MCU is in one of them. And then one of them was animated, directed by please let me get this right, not Miyazaki, but the guy who did Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
I can't remember his name.
Watanabe.
Yes,
right?
I think Watanabe.
Yeah, Watanabe. So he directed one of the shorts, and it was excellent. And so all of those kind of help you like get a little bit more lore, but they really have nothing to do with the character you are with in the movie.
It's like the animatrix,
anything
basically.
like that. Yeah, it's almost exactly like that.
Okay, that's really cool.
No, I haven't watched that yet. It sounds like something
good.
I need to do after I watch the special edition of director's cut of Blade Runner that I never got to see, which is the definitive version that all the nerds decided is the one that is the correct one.
That is the correct one.
And I need to go. You loaned it to me. It's sitting on my desk. I just need to sit down and watch it.
Pop it in.
Haven't gotten around to it yet.
The only thing I did this week that was kind of new is I upgraded my Xbox Live Gold to Xbox Live Ultimate.
Nice.
And the only thing that I've done with it so far is I picked up Prey. There's quite a few games on there that were on my to-do list. Like I haven't played Doom. I haven't played Wolfenstein. I saw Prey on there today, and I was like, you know what? I've been meaning to try out Prey. Picked it up, installed it. Like lost 8 hours of my life in just like no time. I was just like, where the fuck did that go? Like it was, and I'm like barely scratching the surface of the game. I could see why everybody,
even with the expansions that are coming out.
Yeah, everybody was just like, James, you like BioShock, you should probably play Prey. And I was like, yeah, sure. Everybody says that when like a new similar type game comes. No, I genuinely see it when I'm playing the game now. I
think on PlayStation, I put in probably like 12 hours into playing Prey when it first came out.
Yeah,
nice.
And it's now that again I got the Ultimates. I'd already have it downloaded and waiting for me.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that's everything we have for the prelude this week. We're gonna take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into the weekly raid.
Actually, I think before I go into Prey, I'm gonna play Hellblade though.
Oh, original Prey, like way back in the day with the Native American themes and the
I love the original.
being abducted. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so good.
It was going to take a lot for me to buy back into that series without
any of that world.
Yeah, because
it has nothing to do with it. They're completely different things.
There are aliens.
Literally nothing.
That's it.
Yeah,
there's weird alien things that are invisible goo monsters.
Sometimes when you have a license and you can use it, if you can use a name people recognize, it might, I guess, get them into your game that is a completely unfranchised 0451, which will have its audience.
Yeah.
But if you can bring another audience with it, I think you all.
I think the best part that really amused me.
It's the name. They just really wanted the name.
Yeah, it was definitely the name.
Well, we found out today that that Remedy got back their rights to Alan Wake.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they did. That'll be cool. But yeah, when you're in the very first room in the game, if you open up his closet, there's like postcards
Or
from
her
different-
closet.
Yeah, or her
I
closet.
played hers or her.
With like they have the postcards and there's like from like Austin, Texas one in there, and it looks
Yeah.
exactly like a postcard from Austin,
Yeah,
Texas.
it's because they're
I
from
know, because
here.
Arcane's from here.
Yeah, they literally just went to the corner store, picked up one of those and scanned it in.
and it did it. Yeah,
Well, I mean, they probably went and got the rights and everything else, or had somebody make one similar, but you know.
But yeah, I've been playing Prey all day, and it's very engrossing. One of the things I was telling Hector about it is I really
There's
enjoy
some puzzle solving you gotta do in that fucking game.
I enjoy the how sparingly they use the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like BioShock where you're fighting enemies constantly. You really are like in tense situations because you have no idea when an enemy's going to show up, and I think that really does it for
In the middle of you trying to solve a fucking puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, cool, now I'm dealing with this too, and I don't know how to fucking get out of this room.
Yeah, I remember the first time I fought like a medium enemy in that game. All I had fought were the little mimics so far.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're a fun fight, but they're not a huge threat unless there's a bunch of them. I'm going up and I like walk into this like I think ironically it's like a med lab and I'm like
I know
looking for
exactly what you're talking about,
stuff
'cause I
to
did
heal
this today,
myself.
too.
I walk in and there's this like a 7-foot tall humanoid looking alien thing and it's just spitting fire at me
And you just
like,
die.
Yep.
and I just died.
And you don't even have a gun at that
immediately.
point.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not going in there anymore.
So much for healing.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. We had a lot of fun things to talk about. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
A weekly raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. All right, let's start off on a happy note here. Summer Games Done Quick raised $3 million for Doctors Without Borders.
It's a new record. I think they beat their previous record by either 400,000 or 600,000.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was absolutely ridiculous. I love talking about this kind of stuff on the show because I love these GDQ events, seeing these gamers come out, donate to a good cause, and just the turnout for these
Yeah.
events is so. Like I've heard that you can't even really get tickets to a GDC. Like,
It's hard.
or GDQ. Like they sell out in minutes, basically. And the fact they were able to raise $3 million for a charity over the course of this, and like you were watching events, and like the much like always, you saw a lot of games being run where like Minecraft,
Yeah.
Mojang was like donating during that run. Like several employees were donating like thousands of dollars during that. They were just like, "Hey, thanks for liking Minecraft. Like, here's
Yeah.
here's some money." Also, I got to realize like there is a story in air quotes in Minecraft. Had no clue.
Yeah, it was something that it was added whenever Microsoft took over.
Yeah.
There was a loose, maybe a story before, but
Yeah, I actually didn't get to see the Chrono Trigger run. I still got a few runs. I'm working on the Diablo run right now.
Yeah.
I got really distracted by playing Prey. So
Yeah.
I got a bunch of stuff that I got to catch up on. But that's awesome.
similarly, Guardian Con was this last weekend. They raised
Which
about
is the Destiny convention.
Destiny convention. They raised about $2 million. I'm loving this. Every like beginning of the summer, a bunch of nerds get together and raise money for charities.
Yeah,
No, it's
I
like,
Like
love
it makes me really happy.
Yeah, if
that we can do this.
If I could say one thing about GDQ, if you want to go back and watch any of the videos, you can go to on Reddit. Our speedrunning has like a whole VOD thread. You can watch every run if you missed it while it was live. I highly recommend the Block of Kaizo games. And if you don't know what that is basically a ROM hack of an old Super Mario game where they make their own custom levels. People who do this make the hardest levels. Truly,
It's the one thing I actually enjoy the most out of
Yeah.
watching these is watching these insane Mario levels. They're like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
unplayable. That's
Yeah.
fucking unplayable.
And then just watching people beat them casually, quickly beat them. And there was one really good one where they had a relay race. There was 2 teams of 4 people running a Kaizo game that none of them had ever seen before. And that they had to just like there was a series of 5 levels and they were playing for time for which team beat the level first. And every time they died they have to switch off so they couldn't like get good muscle memory of the thing that killed them last time.
yeah, they have to wait for their
It's
turn to go.
Really
Yeah.
impressive. Like if you watch only one run from GDQ, it is
Yeah.
that one. Like it was absolutely insane.
amazing.
And yeah, that's the Kaizo blind run. Tony, last week we were talking about the Vertigo imprint going away, DC Black Label becoming the new de
Yeah,
facto
and I was
standard.
very worried about what the future was for odd stories that weren't DC centric.
So we have that answer for you today.
I know. I read the notes.
So wow, you read the notes. I'm even doubly
I also read
impressed.
the fucking news.
Right. So here's what happened. So if you missed the news from last week, DC did away with their Vertigo label, and they now have 3 categories. They have like the young adults DC. They have proper 13 plus DC, and they have DC Black Label, which is their adult titles.
Nice.
They took away the Vertigo brand. So what they're doing is there can still be brands that exist, but they all have to be under DC Black Label. The example that we have this week is that Joe Hill is overseeing this new kind of line of DC Comics under Black Label, but it's its own imprint.
Okay, yes, that's what I was confused on, what they were going to do with Jared Way's stuff and what they're going to do with Joe Hill's stuff. Was it just going to go away, or was it going to get moved over? Which obviously it's going to be moved over or created under the new Black Label banner. The fact that Joe Hill is going to be making more comic books makes me insanely happy.
He actually firmly believes that he's a comic book writer first rather than novelist.
I could see that based on the work of his that I've seen.
Yeah, he really believes that's his calling. He loves doing that. I mean, he loves writing books, obviously, but comics he really feels like
There's something about telling a story over a period of time with the artwork and.
I mean, Lock and Key alone, man, that was.
It's fucking amazing, and I honestly wish there were more comic book versions. If he needs to take all his books and just make comic versions of them.
Yeah,
I'd be stupid happy.
But
absolutely read
the best part of this news, other than the fact that Joe Hill is getting a DC Black Label imprint, is the fucking brass on this man to name his studio Hill House Studios.
Yeah.
I was so stupidly happy. I was like,
that's awesome.
What? That's his comic. From now to the end of time, the Joe Hill comic book imprint is the Hill House Comics.
Yeah. That's a ballsy move.
Yeah. I don't have any of the skills he needs, but I think it would be really cool to be able to say I work for Hill House.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't, and not every comic, by the way, that's going to fall under the Hill House banner is going to be a Joe Hill comic. He is going to be writing a lot of them, but he's pulling a lot of his writer friends in that write horror, and they're all coming into comics, and they're all going to write horror comics.
So now we know that DC Black Label is going to have a sub imprint of Hill House, which is the horror comics.
Yes.
I love
it. I'm okay with this turn for DC. If this is where DC sees their future going, I am all on board with this.
Yeah, if I have to wait any longer for another trade of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I mean, I might die. So
they are really taking their time.
So getting more horror comics that I want to read sounds great.
Yeah, and the first book that he's going to be publishing is called Basket Full of Heads, and it's going to be in a.
How do you know what I wanted for Christmas?
It's going to be set in a New England mansion filled with Viking artifacts, and it's going to be coming out October 30th.
Nice.
Awesome.
So just something to get excited for. But yeah, he's just going to be pulling in all of his friends. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm super excited about it. All right, so we talked a little bit back about Hellraiser getting a new movie, and of course we've got a lot of feelings about that because we're giant Hellraiser fans here. Right. But we want to see it first and judge it afterwards, respectful nerds should.
I tried the most recent one, and that hurts.
I tried.
I
did.
But this is a new
there's
everything.
No amount of alcohol
that
can break and
new
get rid of
everything.
that.
I mean, sometimes you get a good remake. There's a bunch of them. Sometimes you end up with a Pet Cemetery. I watched it this weekend. It was not.
I was going to. I just really couldn't get. I couldn't feel like I wanted.
It was definitely passable. I mean, it was by no means a terrible horror movie.
Yeah.
I think because of how much I love the first one, I was expecting a lot.
The most recent Hellraiser is terrible.
It is
very terrible.
But that's a continuation of old Hellraiser. Right?
No, well, it's an origin story thing, kinda.
It's gross.
I wasn't really sure what they did.
It's a bastardization.
So
the last Puppet Master movie was awesome.
I need to see
because you
that.
can't fuck up Puppet Master.
I need to see that.
You can't fuck up Puppet Master.
I love
Does it
that
have
whole
puppets in it?
series,
yeah.
Are the puppets Nazis? Well, there you fucking go.
So we know that this new Hellraiser reboot is supposed to be happening, but it was announced this week that there's actually going to be a Hellraiser anthology TV series that's going to be coming out as well.
How is that going to work? What's it coming out on?
So all the details are currently being worked on. The Deadline has kind of been reporting on this as it's been coming out. We know that David S. Goyer is one who's supposed to be working on the movie. We're still getting all the details in for who's going to be working on the
Based
TV
on that
series.
name alone, the movie has a way higher chance of coming into fruition versus the TV show.
I really hope it's like Starz or Cinemax.
So the people being worked on that are working on the Hellraiser TV series is they got the producer from It and a producer from Ready Player One.
Nice.
That are going to be working on this.
Okay.
And the only thing that we have for the TV series so far is that Pinhead, the Hell Priest, may be in the show, but this is going to be an anthology series, so not every episode is going to be about him.
Is it
which on paper, as soon as I read that, I'm like, I like this.
That I'm on board for.
Is it anthology per episode or anthology per season?
We don't have enough detail about that yet. I'm hoping that it's anthology per episode.
That's one season of it.
I would like
one fucking season, Hector.
That's the one I know because I've never seen any of it. I could have called it the Lady Gaga show. I stopped myself.
You could have called it the Insanitarium where aliens show up in the end of it for no fucking reason show.
Well, now I'll never watch that season.
Don't, because it's awful.
Good.
Aliens show up in the middle, in the middle, and then at the very end of it. It's fucking bad. Yeah, no, there's other seasons that are good though.
Back to this. They haven't leaked all the details about it yet. I would personally want an anthology show where it was
I want like
Twilight Zone,
Twin Peaks, something like that. I want like every episode to be its own thing. Maybe multiple episodes will go into each other somehow.
Are allowed to say you want it to be like the Twilight Zone because I know neither of you has watched any of the Twilight Zone.
I've watched a couple episodes.
Oh, have you? Well, you haven't
the original
finished it.
I watched all of the original.
Well, yeah, the original. There's
all right, fine. Fuck you. I want to be kind of like Black Mirror, where some of the episodes fucking interconnected and some of the other ones aren't, and it builds this wonderful, great Hellraiser universe. Fuck you, Hector.
I'll allow it.
Okay, let's move on from Hellraiser and talk a little bit about Google Stadia. So
that's a departure.
It is a departure, and it is.
I don't know, but
it
could be the same thing.
It's a little bit sassier, let me tell you, because one of the questions that even our audience has asked us on stream while we've been doing this and talking about the Google Stadia is like, how is Google Stadia going to handle things like data caps? And we just don't have an answer for that because some internet providers have hard data caps that their customers can have. How do you create a game streaming service when your customer base can't stream it?
A lot of people, there are, in the United States, there are places and companies that go, no, you get to have 5 gigs a month, and if you go over that, you're either capped and it's cut off, or you are going to start paying it's going to cut down its speed and cost you a fuckload more on top of it.
Yep.
Like, how is that going to function? How am I going to get my 4K 60 frames a second fucking Destiny 2? Because that's so far the only thing that we know it's coming out on it. How am I going to get that? Like, how's that going to work if I've got a cap on my stream, or I live in the middle of fucking nowhere and my internet connection is spotty?
I think that's the problem with the people developing Google Stadia is they have no idea what the realities of even just the American landscape of broadband looks like.
Well, and you know what? We didn't have the answer for our listeners, but apparently the vice president and general manager of Google does have the answer to this. Are you guys ready? I
cannot wait to hear the genius I'm about to hear.
This is going to be some amazing bit of spin, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the answer that all of you have been waiting for. How are people that have data caps in America going to be able to use Google Stadia, right? Well, Phil Harrison, who's the vice president and general manager of Google, says that he does not believe that data caps represent a major challenge to the Stadia, and that most likely ISPs will play ball and raise data caps and make it easier for everybody to use Google Stadia because that's the way the technology is going. So the ISPs are totally going to be on board and be like, we're just going to give
all this... They're going to raise the data caps out of the goodness of their fucking hearts.
Raising data caps.
Or they're going to do what they're always done, which is fuck our wallets by saying, fuck you. No, we just decreased it even further because now you're streaming more. So fuck you.
Well, now we're going to sell you the gaming package for 30 to 50% more than you're paying now, but it's got a way higher cap.
Yeah.
Sure, the no cap plan, you can't afford that.
He actually had the brass to go out and say ISPs are smart and they understand that they're in the business of keeping customers happy and keeping customers with them for the long time.
ISPs are monopolies and don't give a flying turtle shit whether or not you are happy with their service.
You've been watching way too much Mario.
At all.
So, just to put some perspective, for those of you who have a Netflix out there or borrow your friend's Netflix account, the season finale of Patriot Act, which is a great comedy news segment in the vein of like a John Oliver, the final episode of this season was about ISPs and how tightly they control everything in America.
Yep.
If you want something like Google Stadia to succeed, the way the current ISPs are set up within the U.S., infrastructure alone is not going to allow for game streaming to be what it can be.
Nope.
Will it be really cool here in Austin? Absolutely, it'll be
because we have Google as our internet provider.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why.
Did Phil Harrison forget? Was it Harrison or Spencer?
Harrison.
Did Phil Harrison forget that Google got so fed up with ISPs that they went ahead and started their own
Yeah. That's what we're using
Does
right
he
now to stream this.
remember that? Because, I mean, that's who he's expecting to act in good faith with him now.
Right, and they're absolutely not going to. And this
Hard
sucks
no.
because Google Stadia does seem like a really cool, very fascinating concept. But the people that would really benefit from having a service like this aren't going to be able to get it. You know, the people who can't, who are not in the city, that see this, this really cheap price tag to play a whole bunch of games per month, and they don't have the internet infrastructure to back it up.
Yep. And that's going to be the reality for a lot of Americans.
Yeah. And no matter how much they went on stage at E3 and said, oh, well, here's the kind of things you can expect with even slower internet speeds, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you have something like a data cap on your internet, if your customer has to choose between being able to just use the internet for work at home or use it to stream games, one of them is their livelihood.
Yep. Like, honestly, it's going to come down to not a lot of people work from home, but it might be I had the option of watching Netflix through the entire month at a very reduced or like at a low rate that I keep it going all month.
Yep.
Or I can play one game for one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Netflix at like $7.20 all fucking month long because I get a month of enjoyment out of that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Not one day of 60 frames at fucking 4K.
So I can play Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Right. So yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. And honestly, we can only predict the way that this is going to go down just based on the fact that we all work in technology.
Yeah.
We have a working knowledge of how infrastructure and all this stuff works. We appreciate people writing in questions to us and wanting us to get technical about it. We don't do that too much on the show because we don't want to bore everybody, but we're free to.
Also, a lot of those answers aren't out yet.
Yeah, we're also happy to answer people. Of course, you can always contact us on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, and we'll be happy to kind of at least banter back and forth and give you our opinions about how this whole streaming is the future thing is going to go down.
Like I'm still debating, like, because I think the pre-orders are still up for getting into the
130 price point.
Yeah, the 130, because you have to wait like a year almost if you don't get in at that point.
Yeah, it's the Tesla of consoles right now. Now you're buying to get one. You're paying to get one later.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, do I want one? Do I want not want one? It might come down to like the day it comes out if I want.
I think I now understand like Tesla owners, like the early adopters.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at the Stadia, I was like $130 for the buy-in. I can throw that down. It's no big deal. It's not a huge loss if I don't like it.
Yeah.
I guess all the early adopter Tesla owners are like $100,000. I can throw that down.
Yeah, I really wish I was in a position to be like,
it.
I guess I could just get a Tesla. And if I don't like it, I'll just.
Hey, they're dropping Teslas are coming with new models every year that are way cheaper.
Yeah, no, the Model 3 is becoming pretty ubiquitous in a lot of places in Europe.
Yeah, here in Austin, man, it's a big deal.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Everywhere. All right, so we're moving on from Google real quick. I just want to touch on the Lost Boys.
It was filmed in Austin. Like, dead serious. Like the first Tesla porn that from this self-driving mode was shot in Austin.
I'm not surprised.
Well done.
Not
well
surprised
done,
whatsoever.
Austin.
So we're going to jump over from Stadia real quick. We don't have to hang on this for too long. But we did briefly talk a couple episodes back about how The Lost Boys was going to be turned into a CW series. Mm-hmm. We were really waiting for the pilot to see what we were going to think about it. Turns out that pilot was not good. They've scrapped all of it and are recasting all but 2 roles in the show.
Yikes.
You know what, though? I'm willing to be more excited about it just based on that. The idea that you went, filmed a pilot, said, this is hot garbage. Mm-hmm. This is not what The Lost Boys is.
Yeah, no, and for historical context, specifically on something like CW, Buffy's original pilot had, I think, 3 or 4 different actors that had changed.
Yeah.
Shows like you don't really care for it, but Big Bang Theory, its pilot versus first episode is massively different, even in characters and tone.
I have a really hard time believing there was a pilot worse than the show is.
It's just incredibly different. It's super different.
Yeah. True Blood did the same thing with a few of their actors. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So changing out actors is normal. Changing out this many is a bit excessive. But
2 of these are working. Everyone else go home.
But you know what? I am fully on board with that because I've seen in the past where having to change actors makes the show better. Changing showrunners,
I think it shows that the people behind the show give more of a shit about the product rather than just saying we're going to drum up nostalgia, make a Lost Boys show. If it gets a season, fine. At least we'll get some marketing.
Let's put the vampires on the table and call it what it is. Supernatural's going away in a year. So they have a year to get another show on air to replace it with.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Except for the 5 original shows that they have airing.
I was going to say, there's a lot of other shows on that network, dog.
They need something. All right, so then whatever becomes the next Supernatural, it has to have a replacement. Yeah. So you have to constantly filling in those little fucking gaps for CW shows.
Sure.
I'm
not disagreeing with you, but I think they just started the new show Legacy, which just ended its first season, which is super popular, and is the second spin-off of the originals.
Wait, what's Krypton on? Is that a CW show?
That's sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is still family owned by the giant corporation overall.
It's all Warner Brothers, man.
Yeah. They're all fucking each other.
Speaking of Warner Brothers, I forgot to put something on my list. Okay, real quick before we move on to like our final topic or whatever we're about to do.
We got a few more things. But
okay, but I watched Shazam.
I did too,
and it was really good.
Yeah, really? I forgot about it.
Super enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, it was enjoyable in that I forgot about it. Like I wasn't angry at the end of it. I wasn't blown away either. It was very much that movie happened, and I wasn't upset at all.
I think getting through a DC movie and not being upset by the end of it is like the best you can do right now.
And I really was pretty happy at the end of the movie. And you know what it felt like? It felt like all of the B-list Marvel origin stories. You take your Ant-Mans, your like first Thors, which is a good movie, but it wasn't Iron Man.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, but they're throwaway characters.
Well, sure, they're throwaway characters, but that's not what I'm talking about. Guardians of the Galaxy is an incredibly well-made movie. Ant-Man had issues. Thor had issues.
Okay. You're talking about the film version, not the character version.
Yeah, Doctor Strange was a very, very good origin story, and it still had a few issues. So this kind of feels like that. It's not like the brilliance that was the first Iron Man, but it can totally hang with those movies. It was fun to watch. It made me laugh. It made me feel things. I really liked all the main characters, even though I was determined to be annoyed by the guy playing Shazam, and I just wasn't. He was good.
Zachary Levi?
Yeah, I just wanted to punch his smug face every time I saw him in the trailer.
He's such a nice fella.
And he was so much fun in the movie that I was like, that was good.
He's a good boy. He's one of the best boys.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on.
You never watched the show Chuck, did you?
From all that. So I'm going to bring up this next news item, and on the surface, as I start to talk about it, you may be like, what the fuck, this sounds horrible.
Okay.
But I have a pitch that makes it 100 times better. Mm-hmm. So we have the USA Network has ordered a pilot.
USA Network's still around?
They do Suits.
USA Network's still around?
They only make Suits now.
What's Suits?
It's a show that half the cast left already. Yet it's still going on for some reason.
But they're coming back for the final season. All right, I watch Suits. So USA Network is going to be making a pilot for a show called Masters of Doom. This is a book that I have read. It's the history of id Software, where they started from, what they did to create Doom, Wolfenstein, Quake, all this, to their eventual falling out. Right? So Dave and James Franco are going to be working on this.
Wow.
All right. So on the surface, this seems a bit weird, right? But I want to sell you on something that I feel like works really well for the story.
Okay.
*Halt and Catch Fire*.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen the show *Halt and Catch Fire*?
No, but I've heard a lot about it.
Okay, you should watch
I have, and actually it's exactly where my mind went whenever I found out about this book, The Making of Doom, being turned into a show series.
Right, so if you haven't seen the show *Halt and Catch Fire*, to kind of give you a brief overview of it, it's fictional, but it takes place in the real world, right? It's a fictional tech company, that is going through like the 80s through the 90s about the boom in computers, the boom in Silicon Valley, and the boom of the internet. That's the 3 arcs of the show are that.
Like literally the creation of the IBM clone is like the first episode.
Right.
And they use historical things throughout this, and it's a very great show.
Is it a documentary? What is?
No, it's just a show based on. It's a drama.
It's like Mad Men. It roots itself in the reality.
It was AMC that did it, so obviously like Mad Men, and it's somewhat based on not Gateway, Compaq computers. Right. It's roughly the story of Compaq computers but Super couldn't do that for legal reasons.
Right. And so if you've ever watched *Halt and Catch Fire*, this is the exact mentality that I got when I heard the story of this, because I have read *Masters of Doom*. And *Masters of Doom* is a story that has its story arc about them being these scrappy kids who tried to make a Mario clone for Nintendo, couldn't sell it, ended up making like Commander Keen, ended up making Wolfenstein without even owning the license to it, made Doom, and then everything that happened from there. Then John Romero gets a big head. He gets this rock star attitude and tries to like go over John Carmack.
I was going to ask if there's an entire chapter on Daikatana.
There's an entire chapter on Daikatana in there. So Masters of Doom, get it on Audible. It's fantastic. We are not sponsored by Audible.
But it's now going to be turned into a USA show.
Right.
And if it is along the lines of something like *Halt and Catch Fire*, well, I'm stupidly on board for this.
So considering how we all just, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Room, but you really should if you haven't. The Tommy Wiseau movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we could get like James Franco to play fucking Romero.
Well, all right. So Dave and James are going to be. They're in it producing.
No, I know.
They're not necessarily going to be starring in it at all.
There's so much potential.
He would be perfect for that. Actually,
so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I highly doubt they're actually going to be in the show.
Yeah, but
it's like Seth Rogen and Preacher. He's not in it. But
he's not in it because he doesn't have a place in it. There's no room for him in that
Seth
story.
Rogen. He would fucking write himself into a scene anywhere.
I don't know. It's really weird to say this because as everybody that listens to this show knows, I'm a giant video game history nerd. And so reading Masters of Doom, like, I was fascinated by the story of it, but I also don't go out and say, oh, you should totally read these 5 video game history books. Because I realize for most people, that shit's boring. I feel like Masters of Doom is one of the few that I can be like, just fucking read the book. Like, there's so much fucked up shit that happens in that. Like, and when they said they were making it a TV show, my mind went to *Halt and Catch Fire* and went, this could be so good. Like, Romero and, like, Carmack's feud alone will make so much amazing screen time.
That does sound awesome.
So definitely do go pick that up. All right, we have, I think, one more big thing that we need to talk about here. Let's end our news of the week on a happy note. Maybe Tony might get a little angry. We're about to see what's going to happen here.
Wait, why is that the happy note that I get angry?
I feel like
Tony might get angry.
I feel like I'm excited about it, but Tony may have some very strong opinions about what I'm about to say.
Where have you been? Tony's definitely going to get angry.
Is that our last bit of news for this week is that Netflix has ordered a Sandman TV show.
Yeah.
Not only, they didn't order a pilot.
Nope.
They ordered a whole fucking show. Not only did they order a whole fucking show, they've got Neil Gaiman working on as showrunner and chief writer. David S. Goyer is going to be an executive producer, and that it's going to have the biggest budget of any DC television show that's ever been made.
Good.
So much like the new Dark Crystal show, I'll fucking believe it whenever I see it. Because at this point...
But then you refuse to watch the trailer for the Dark
Crystal
show.
I refuse to acknowledge it exists until it's literally gone. There's 10 episodes. I'll watch those 10 episodes and go, cool, that existed now. Now I believe you. And then I'll have opinions on it. But until I actually sit down and watch all of it, it super hardcore does not exist in my mind. Because I have gotten fucked over way too many times on Dark Crystal and Sandman at this point, where I just can't fucking do it anymore. I can't put my heart through this shit.
That's true. I understand. Because as somebody who's a Sandman fan, and Tony, in my head, is the quintessential Sandman fan. I'm a huge fan. He's the biggest. Sandman has been brought up as a television show or as a movie tons of times through its inception.
As someone who hasn't read the comic, how do you guys feel about its filmability?
That's the problem.
It depends on what story you want to tell. I mean, it's literally the idea of dreams and a character that is the god of dreams.
But there is a narrative to the
There
stories.
is overall the story of...
You know what?
It's also the story of all of reality. That's one of the problems. Can you tell the story of all of reality?
Well, you could say the same thing. You could say the story of Watchmen is a story of like the flow of time, but it's not. There are central characters doing things, and you can get there.
In the book Sandman, there are these 7 endless, these creatures that exist literally at the creation of time and at the end of time, and it is the story of all of them. And Sandman is the primary character. There are adventures that he goes on and friends that he has and things and demons that he get let out of his dream world that to be conquered.
It's very much an anthology.
And it could be very fun in that aspect. But as a singular storytelling experience, no, you can't have just one story.
I will go to bat for the other side of this. 10 years ago, I don't think this could get made. I think in a post Love, Death, or what is it? Sex, Death, Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. I feel like it can be made because we are now willing to take the risks to have really cool visual styles and not expect the audience to have to quote unquote keep up.
Right.
We now have smarter television that's happening right now. We are in this new golden age of television where there are certain shows that exist in the zeitgeist that we are currently watching that does not assume that the audience is stupid. And that's what Sandman has to be, because Sandman does not talk down to its viewers. It expects you to keep up. It's not trying to be highbrow or anything. It just expects you to follow along, pay attention, and realize the gravity of every story that's being told.
Gotcha.
And I really hope this is something more akin to an anthology, something where you do have a broader stroke picture of the character of Sandman. You can go have 2 or 3 episodes that would be this one story arc from the comics, but then you can do something like A Midsummer's Night Dream that won all the fucking awards. Right. And it's such a departure from what you previously had. There's also 10 years worth of comic books to go through. That's a lot of fucking stories.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why every time somebody said we're going to do it as a movie, Joseph Gordon-Levitt had gotten the rights to do a film version of it.
Yeah, that was a lot.
We talked about the show years ago at this point.
I was going to say, that was before he was doing Hit Record, right?
Yeah, and he wanted to do 3 movies of it. And we were like, okay, I guess you can do 3 movies. You can tell a huge story. It's like 9 hours of Sandman. That would make sense. But for a series, it does make even more sense. I've always said put it on something like Showtime, something like HBO, something like Netflix, where you can have it's a Vertigo comic. It doesn't really shy away from the violence when violence is necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
And nightmares are a thing in
Death
the dream
is literally
world.
A character in.
But Death is so sweet. She's so nice.
She is. I don't know. I'm really a big fan of Destiny.
Actually, I really hope that maybe we don't get too much of the other Endless.
I want to see Destiny at least make an appearance. He was a favorite of mine.
I mean, I liked all of them. They're Desire, fucking Destiny, Death, Delirium was fucking great. The dude that wrote everything.
A lot of these are based on real
name.
people, by the way, just so you know. Like
awesome.
if you read Sandman, who was Delirium based on? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember. I'd have to pull up the list.
I'm guessing they're based on really iconic characters like David Bowie
a famous
or like
singer.
Freddie Mercury.
Is it Tori Amos?
Yeah, I think it's
Tori Amos.
Tori Amos is Delirium.
Yeah.
There was this punk rock singer that was Death. Like literally, if you hold up pictures of like what she looked like, and the comic book, you go, "That's her." They were directly taken from. I mean, every writer pulls from people that they know and inspiration.
There's
like that.
a really weird like talk to 16-year-old me about this, where you talk about like Neil Gaiman and how he was friends with like Tori Amos and how they were friends with Trent Reznor and they all used to talk to each other all the time and how that influenced all the Sandman's work and like there's a hole that you can go down learning the lore of just what went on behind the scenes.
If you want to be a like 90s goth kid, this is where you start.
That was me.
And it just keeps going and going and going and going.
A big pet. But I'm excited. Again, I am actually going to side with Tony a little bit on this one. I don't think I'm going to believe it until we at least get a trailer or something.
Right.
This definitely sounds like something that Netflix is wanting to put a lot of money into and make really cool. But Sandman is such an abstract concept. I got to see a prototype. I got to see a trailer. I got to see something that tells me you're going to be able to pull this off. And yes, I know Neil Gaiman is on a hot streak right now. We have Good Omens. We have all this other stuff going on. But you are talking about when people talk about filming the unfilmable, when they talk about things like a Sin City. Like, that's what Sandman is.
Like, when we get done, I will literally pull one of the volumes I have over there and show you, like,
I have the first volume. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay.
There's, I feel like, I really like that it's Netflix they went with for this, and the reason why is because I don't trust anywhere else, not fucking Hulu or Amazon, or even really HBO for that matter, to let a show like this be as weird as it needs to be.
Right.
Okay.
It absolutely
I trust Netflix to do that.
Does.
Considering Love, Death, and Robots and a bunch of other... I mean, they did the Bandersnatch, for Christ's sake. They will let you do whatever you want.
Have to watch it.
You should give it a shot. It's going to take you like 2 hours.
Okay, so this also proves something that I thought about, or talked about on the show months ago. That was, since Marvel is pulling out all of this stuff from Netflix, since all of those shows have now been canceled, since Jessica Jones is now done, I said, why don't they get on that DC train?
They did.
Well, guess what?
Here we are.
Vertigo.
They
well,
dropped
former Vertigo.
the biggest DC dick you can on the table. The only one that has won like literary awards that you cannot win anymore because
comic books aren't allowed.
Because
anymore.
comic books are not allowed. Like
Right.
literally, a Sandman comic won a literary award, and then the next year they changed the rules to say comics can no longer win this award.
Yep.
Because people are assholes.
Yep. I mean, that's what they tried to do to Netflix in the Oscars. Netflix just had enough money to fight back.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's almost like a perfect pairing in that way.
Yeah, true
And,
that.
and I'm looking forward to maybe we get some more fun, interesting, weird ass Vertigo. I'm still gonna call it fucking Vertigo because they came out under Vertigo.
And that's
Vertigo
fine.
titles coming out on Netflix.
This could also
Gi-
signal that,
Give us Transmet, you
Yes.
cowards.
Oh, give us Transmit, you fucking cowards. That being said, this could almost signal the death knell for the DC platform.
We
Considering,
know that the DC Universe online streaming service is undergoing a lot of fire right now.
yeah, the high profile failures that we have. We basically have one show that has been good out of 3, which isn't the
Doom Patrol's been fun.
Doom Patrol's amazing, but the other 2 shows, I mean, Swamp Thing is good so far, but they already canceled it. So everyone I've talked to who knows that it's already been canceled is like, who gives a fuck? Why would I even still watch it?
Right, that's
I
understandable.
know it's canceled.
Yeah.
And then Titans was awful.
Maybe Netflix has listened to the show and said maybe we should get on that DC deck.
Yeah,
that's
for
all I'm
real.
saying. Maybe they've been listening to
Let's
us.
hop on that.
All right, that's
Or we're
everything.
just really intelligent, can see the future.
That is true.
So far, we have been pretty right.
So that is everything that we have for our news roundup this week. But hang with us when we come back on the other side of our break. We're going to be going to our main topic for the show, which is going to be in the boss room, and it's the importance of Captain America.
I never switched this over.
Oh, that's fine.
I just realized we were in a
Could
prelude
you
the
grab me a
entire
cider,
time.
please?
Yes.
Archer, you've got to fucking go, dude. My balls are cooking.
He's a good boy.
shorts and I'm sweating right now.
You can take my seat. I'm gonna be here for a minute.
god.
He's a good boy. All right, main topic time. So I want to address our audience directly before we get into this. This was actually a topic that I've been wanting to discuss for a while because I think the idea, the concept of Captain America, the iconography of Captain America is very important to talk about. Because this wasn't meant to be a 4th of July thing. I actually have a list of topics that I may want to talk about someday. And when I first brought this up to Hector, I was like, we've been talking about so much heavy stuff. Like maybe we should take a light week and talk about something fun. And then I started writing the notes down for it, and I was like, shit, this is going to be a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. You're probably going to, if you're drinking along at home with us, drink every time we use the phrase, we are not a political podcast. Because I have a feeling we're going to be going down that road. Because we are talking about Captain America. We were talking about the fact that he is an icon of the comic book industry and why he's so important, especially in this day and age.
I'm amazed that it took you that long to realize that talking about Captain America could possibly have to deal with American politics. And it not being like, oh, it's going to be super light. Captain America's fun. He's awesome. Everybody loves Captain America. Except for America.
It's going to be a little rough, guys. It's going to be rough. But it's important. I think it's an important subject for us to talk about. Because, I mean, Chris Evans alone. He is Captain America.
And that's what we're going to have to... That's literally what I'm going to be saying quite a bit in this.
Yeah.
He is Captain America.
He is Captain America.
Waiting on Hector. He went
coming
to
back.
a
He doesn't
bathroom.
know.
I don't know. He's somewhere.
Yep. In the meantime, this good cat.
No, he's the worst cat. He fucking gave me sweaty balls.
Did he give you sweaty balls?
Yeah,
Bubba, did you give him
yeah.
sweaty balls?
His-
He looks so proud of
His face
himself.
was on them.
He's just got
His
so,
face was
so
on my
proud.
sweaty balls.
He's very happy. He just had like sweaty balls. He was very excited.
Yeah.
All right, bud. All right, Hector is back.
He's
We're gonna
most
do this
excited because they weren't that way to begin with, and he made them that way. He's like, I made that.
Yeah, I figured that
made
he's just trying to toast my nuts so I will have no other children. He's just like, I will be the only one. All right, Captain America. By the way, if you're new to watching us live, feel free to chime in, comment. If your comment is relevant to the conversation, we will definitely bring it up and talk about it. Again, this is a very deep thing, so if you have any personal stories or anything that you'd like to share with us as we talk about it, please feel free to. We will definitely bring it up on air should you want us to. So,
Yeah.
here
Much
we
like
go.
this dick, we'll try to fit it in wherever we can. I'm just saying.
As long as
No.
It only goes where it's wanted.
No.
Okay, so
it's anywhere you can.
So just so,
There's a
for,
crack in the wall, a tree.
for podcast notes, I have a spiel before we get started.
Yeah.
When I say feel free to chime in as I do the spiel.
Okay.
But really, once I get through it, when I say the words, when someone says Captain America, what word pops into your head? That's the real opening of the discussion time. Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna monologue for a bit.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what you could have said. You should I'm gonna monologue and finish with this.
Exactly.
All right, he said
We
other
made a
things.
word for that.
Still works.
Yes, you did. Fine.
A long time ago. I didn't just invent monologue. I mean, maybe I did.
Maybe you did.
Maybe you didn't.
All right, let me. Boss room.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. Over the last few weeks, we've had some pretty heavy episodes, and I wanted to take this week to talk about something that's been on my mind for a really long time, which is the importance of Captain America. Now, before we begin, I want to address the first big question that some people might have going into this. Why not talk about Superman instead of Captain America? And yes, I know that Superman is supposed to represent truth, justice, and the American way, and he does have the benefit of being an immigrant, which is awesome. But Superman, I really feel, represents how we as the human race should kind of try and act as a whole, whereas Captain America really represents how we should be as Americans. And yes, I know we have a lot of non-American listeners out there, but it is 4th of July week, and I think this is the best time to talk about this.
It could be. The timing could be better considering it's like Canada Day, but that's okay.
Well, that's the day we're recording. That's the day we're recording.
Yeah, we're recording this on Canada Day, but you won't hear it until probably around the 4th of July.
We'll talk about Alpha Strike or whatever their Canadian team is at some point, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah.
So
Yeah, they
now,
got a Maple Leaf guy.
I
So-
really like a lot of your hot celebrities you send to us. Thank you for
some
that.
people like
Keanu Reeves
Wolverine.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is fantastic.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is great. Alanis Morissette, huge
No,
fan.
Not a huge fan. In fact, the exact opposite of that thing.
I'm
Huge
hearing
fan.
that we're making a new podcast, and it's going to be Alanis
I will not be on that
Morissette
podcast.
debate, where the two of you have to debate her song lyrics.
Yeah, I can't even listen to them for more than 5
No,
seconds.
just, you
Why
just
would I
read them.
debate?
Just read them.
1
All
in
right.
15 Americans owns their first album.
I bet, and it's not me. So I want to open this talk to open this entire talk up. I want to talk about a comic panel that really got to me when I was younger that I've since changed my mind on now that I've gotten older. So there's this one scene in the original Civil War comic where Tony Stark calls out Captain America for all the pop culture things that he doesn't know and doesn't understand, and therefore does not represent America because he doesn't get those things.
Right.
At the time, I think that I really agreed with this statement. But I think as I've gotten older, I'm really looking at Captain America as a concept and what he really means to us as readers and what he means to superheroes as a whole, not just you're not with the times, Cap, sorry, you can't be the representation of America.
Right.
So to kind of kick this whole thing off, when somebody says Captain America, what are the first words that pop into your head?
Problematic.
Recently, did punching Nazis.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's like the two things I go. Oh yeah,
so
punching
let's
Nazis
dive
quickly
into
after
it.
the
Tony,
other.
let's start with yours.
I look at him as problematic because of things like that line of dialogue of he doesn't understand what modern America is, but he's supposed to be an ideal. He's also problematic in his creation and story and existence over the last nearly 100 years.
I take your
70
point.
years,
I remember reading a few, maybe right before Infinity War came out, the idea that this portrayal of Captain Rogers makes no sense because he'll walk into a bar and sit down. He'll walk into a restaurant and sit down at the counter next to a black person and have nothing to say about it.
Yeah, no, there's a movie that came out a while ago, and I remember watching it in theaters. As his family gets locked into a bunker, they think the end of the world's going to happen, nuclear bomb's going to go off, but then they don't, and he comes out and he sees his first black person, and he goes, "Oh my God, a Negro!" That's what he would be like. He would be like that because he'd be like, "Oh my God, why are you people integrated? What the fuck's going on?" It wasn't that way when I left it. But
Right.
if you look at the modern film universe, it's not that way. The army apparently was integrated during World War II, and nobody had a problem with it and wasn't incredibly racist the entire time.
There was a lot of
There was plenty of racism the entire time.
Yeah.
That being said,
Yeah.
when people are shooting at you and this guy's shooting back, you tend to think of him as another human being all of a sudden.
Yes, but those groups of soldiers didn't generally exist,
so
so
I-
his existence is problematic in that he's retelling history, and the history that he's existed during has been problematic with the types of stories he's been telling, the type of America that he's been showing, because America is multifaceted entity.
So I want to dissect what you're saying here, because like I want to take the kind of the aggressive statement. I see what you're saying factually. What you're saying is that when you look at Captain America and the history of him in the comics, if we take him as he is now, this ideal concept, you do start to erase the past a little bit, and that's something you shouldn't do.
Right, and it's almost better if you don't. But that being said, we come across a real problem with nostalgia, and I don't mean nostalgia like I really want to see Stranger Things because it's a huge throwback to a bunch of the stuff I grew up with in my childhood. When I'm talking about this kind of nostalgia, I'm talking about that really shitty kind of old man nostalgia, like when someone in the government is like, man, I really do miss the 50s. It was a real simple time then. And you're like, yeah, segregation was awesome.
Those rose tinted glasses for a time that didn't exist.
That's kind of what Captain America feels like. It's a man at a time. And at the time he was written, that's great. But when we come back to it now, and specifically because a lot of people our age are talking to people who had their heyday in the 50s, and we're really upset with them for a lot of the things they did and a lot of the ideas they still have in their heads.
But I mean, what we look at is the modern interpretation of Captain America as somebody who Steve Rogers acknowledges that those things were a problem back then.
Yeah, and when we're creating this version of Steve Rogers that exists now, saying, well, that was problematic then, and also not showing it for what it is, it's revisionist history. Sure. We're taking the history that was and saying, nope, and we're just going to throw in what we want and say, well, the reality was bad, so we're not going to show you that.
I feel like you're debating a point that, yes, it is valid, but there's another point of this, is that Captain America, and I want to specifically say Captain America when I say this, not Steve Rogers, represents an ideal that is so very important. And that when I looked at my previous comment, when I watched, when I read Civil War originally, and it was, you're out of touch because you don't understand MySpace, that is the actual line in the comic book. I agreed with it then, and now I go, well, no, because America shouldn't be this, what is popular at the time.
Right.
It should be, what are the ideals and goals that we should be setting for ourselves, that we should always be aspiring to. And I feel that's what Captain America represents.
See,
that's the Captain America that I love. The idea of Captain America.
See, when you were talking about Superman and the difference between Superman and Captain America, and you were talking about truth and justice in the American way, and I almost got the idea in my head when you finished that thought that it's as if Superman, hopefully, when we write him, represents what Americans should be like. And Captain America, to me, represents a lot of what America actually is at the time. Not what we would like to be, what we see in the mirror when we look with our rose-colored glasses and with our, like, hey, everything's pretty okay here. And when you really peel that away, you get a lot of the more super interesting Captain America, which is the hyper stubborn, unwilling to bend, unwilling to listen. Captain America.
Hector makes an excellent point. Mark Millar's run on Captain America, specifically whenever they did Ultimate Captain America or Ultimate America, or whatever the fuck the title was, specifically, he comes back. He's like freshly unfrozen in the late or early 2000s.
Right.
And he is within a month saying, fuck France, they didn't fucking help us at all during the goddamn war. He was exactly the American reactionary asshole who says those things.
Right.
He doesn't stand for being Captain America.
Right.
This is what Steve Rogers was saying, because that was the sentiment of America at the time. So looking back at the character of Captain America and Steve Rogers through history and going, well, that's the way Americans were at that point. Oh, they were kind of fucked up.
But now we encroach on this new modern Captain America, which we have to at least discuss in the context of all of this, because our new Captain America, for the most part, has been, Chris Evans.
Yes.
And the Captain America that most people know is Chris Evans. And I use him specifically as an example, and not going into the Falcon arc of this, because if you follow Chris Evans at all, like on Twitter, he is very politically vocal, and people really look to him as Captain America. They're like, no, you are standing for the ideals of America.
Right. When Captain America, when Chris Evans gets on Twitter and espouses values that some people might see as left-wing, that some people might see as too progressive, It means a lot when it comes from the guy who is Captain America to most of the world. Right. That is Captain America. Mm-hmm. And so when he does that, I honestly feel a swell of pride.
You get a little bit of patriotism then?
This fucking Captain America says a good thing today, not the part of politics that I feel is horrible, but the part of politics I feel is good. He's standing up for those values. And that, to me, feels American.
Right.
One of the things that, for me, that I love about the modern interpretation of Captain America, specifically the Chris Evans, the MCU version, is in the very beginning, Captain America, the First Avenger. Mm-hmm. Whenever he's going in for his physical for like the 17th time and trying to fucking join the army. And he's asked, why do you want to go to war? And it's like, do you just want to kill people? Do you want to what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't like bullies. Mm-hmm. That is his entire premise for every single movie going on. His entire character drive is I don't like bullies.
Yep.
And that's what it's his entire, like, his dream is to have a world where nobody's fucking bullied, where everybody's accepted and everybody can rise up and do the things that they want to do.
Yep.
You know, with exceptions like pedophilia. We don't do pedophilia.
There are a lot of words.
Perfect freedom. Not a good idea.
They can pop into your head when you think about Captain America. You know, one of the big words is like integrity. Mm-hmm. Right, Captain America always stands up for the little guy.
Yeah,
right. You know, he's a
his
leader.
Word means something.
It means something, and even if that means going against the very government that he's sworn to be a part of, we've seen that in the movies and in the comics.
Oh yeah,
there's been instances where the American government has done something, and he said, no, that's not what it means to be American.
There was a period of time where he became not Captain America because the United States owned the copyright to it, and he disagreed with them, so he became another hero that I can't remember the name of right now, and somebody else got the name Captain America, and he was a super right-wing asshole who was just being a dick to everybody.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a very American thing for America to do to Captain America. I'm not going to lie. That sounds way too
That was a story that came out, I think it was in the 70s or 70s or 80s.
Oh, and I mean, we know that Captain America is really big on kind of inclusion, diversity. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was a character that was out of the 50s and 60s, but
specifically, he was created like months before we joined the war. He was created in 1941, about like 8 or 9 months before Pearl Harbor happened.
So he didn't see the end of the war either. So I mean, that means he was frozen in the 40s.
Well, the modern interpretation of that is he was frozen. He continued on, and then we got in the McCarthy era, which turned into Captain America's pro-McCarthy era, which is problematic in and of itself.
Yikes.
Yeah, don't go back that far because Captain America stands for America, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, again, you take the character based on the time frame, and you will see a reflection of America at that point.
So, and I've been having this thought the entire time we're having this discussion. If Captain America were made right now, what would his values be?
I think that we're seeing it right now on the screen, though. I think that in the modern MCU, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a Captain America that is rebellious enough to say this is not what America should be, because there are people behind it that are gross.
No, but I mean right
right now, we actually have a perfect example of this. Florida Man. Every fucking stupid headline you've ever heard from Florida Man, good or bad, that's Captain America.
Right.
Florida Man is America.
So in our world of always on social media, of everything being captured on camera, we're now seeing police brutality completely exposed across the entire country, which is a problem everyone knew about, but it's in everyone's face now. We're seeing rampant voter suppression, rampant inequality based on income, based on race, based on job, based on gender, no matter what your gender is, and those who don't conform being the biggest victims of that. Yeah. Gerrymandering goes in with voter suppression, and we have fucking concentration camps. So, all of that being said...
Happy 4th of July!
Does Captain America... does he find all of this out when he wakes up and rebel? Or does he become that Captain America?
Oh, I think he would absolutely rebel.
Okay.
I think just, these modern interpretations of it, especially somebody who went through World War II and saw things like concentration camps, he would call it what it is. Mm-hmm. He would be the one that gets in their face and says, don't you put another label on this. Mm-hmm. What you are doing is concentration camps. We do not stand for this. That is not what the ideal of America is. And so when we talk about the importance of Captain America, I know I keep hammering this point home, but it really, to me, when I thought about this topic, it was about what is the idea that pops in your head, not the fact that when it was written in the 40s, it had a political problem or whatever.
It's politics and
it's
politics
that when
now.
you think about Captain America, when you see that person with his hand on his hips and the shield on his back, what are the ideas that pop into your head about this, and why is this so important? And it's because Captain America is the one that, even when America's doing things it shouldn't be doing, says that's un-American, let's get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that that's true, and for me and for a lot of people who know, that's a very comforting thought.
Yeah.
Having the shield on his back and watching him be the defender of hopefully what is good and right in America. That being said, I remember a story Sarah Silverman's told on her Hulu show, which was very good, and you should watch it, even though it's been canceled. It was a great show. It was called I Love You, America. And she tells a story at one point about a guy who was dating who had an American flag waving outside of his front door. She'd never seen that before. She'd never, as an adult, she'd never dated anybody with a big American flag just like there on a pole outside of his front door. She was like, this feels weird to me and I don't like it. And she was trying to like self-reflect. She calls her sister, who is a rabbi and a philosopher and like all kinds of cool shit. And she tells her the story, and her sister's like, Sarah, we're Jews. Nationalism scares us for a very real reason. Doesn't matter what country it's from. It was their country then.
Right.
So when you talk about how we feel when we see Captain America with his shield there, I'm thinking, yeah, that gives me comfort. But how do other people feel about it?
Right.
How would a little Hispanic child feel about it?
Right now,
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But the problem is that they came over here
Right.
under that flag, thinking that flag was going to protect them.
So he's a symbol for us, but he's a symbol to a lot of other people too. I mean, even in the 70s, how would or 60s, how would Vietnamese and Korean people feel when they saw the iconography of Captain America?
Absolutely.
Even if they were Americans
understandable.
and born in America.
But I think that at the end of the day, one of the things, the importance of Captain America is when you think about him and you think about him with that shield, that iconography means that I'm here to protect you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm here to protect the 1%ers. It
Right.
means I'm here to go across that border with you and hold that shield up and protect you as we go across that border together.
And I think that was the best part about Chris Evans and Captain America in the MCU films. His biggest thing, and him and Tony always clashing it all the way through Endgame, was we don't trade lives. Sometimes we lose.
Right.
We don't trade lives. So the idea that human life has value, no matter where you're from, no matter what's going on with you, that you matter as one of the faceless, as one of the millions and hundreds of millions and billions on the planet. You don't even really have to be an American, but your life won't be traded by Captain America. And hopefully he becomes a symbol for what America is supposed to mean to everyone else.
Absolutely.
I would love Marvel to do another telling of Captain America right now that tells those stories, that can say this is what Captain America is supposed to stand up for and who he's supposed to be, and say you are wrong. I do not believe they would ever do something like that.
Yeah, how do you publish a comic right now about Captain America grabbing a militia and like invading a concentration camp to rescue children?
Yeah, that's really
You
funny.
literally just do that. You write that.
Well, you just write that.
But didn't Batman 1000 just have a story about Batman beating up the KKK?
I have no idea.
You own a copy of it.
I do own it. Oh, you're right.
There's a lot of
that was
stories in
good. Shit. That was a
I
long
like
time
three
ago.
of them. I was like, fuck, there's a lot of stories in
That
there.
was like 5 months ago. That was great.
So, let's get down to the nitty gritty of this. Let's get down to the basics. When it comes to superheroes, do you think that Captain America, in his current incarnation, is a hero that you would be proud for our upcoming generations to try and strive and be like?
Yeah.
Film version, yes. Comic book version, I haven't read them in a while. Don't know.
Okay.
I think the film version, 100%. Again, comic version, I feel like there's probably more than one incarnation of Captain America right now in the comics, so I don't have a good opinion on that. But if I see a kid, and hopefully within the next couple of years, some young African-American kids in a Captain America uniform feeling like they can wear that and be proud of that.
I'm so excited to see that.
And want to be that, I can't wait.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
This modern interpretation of Captain America, do we really think that he represents America the way that
well, based on the number of people who got pissed off when Falcon became Captain America, no, it doesn't represent America. They got angry letters because Captain America has to be a white guy.
Right, but I mean, but we also...
And the movies are about to get that. They're about to get that backlash. Yeah. We are going to see that. We're like, nobody's talking about it yet.
We won't.
The internet is going to have annoying fucking assholes.
Yes, the internet will have annoying opinions, but there were a lot of annoying opinions about Black Panther, and it blew the fucking doors off of every box office.
I just really hope that, I mean, I
so when we get our
to break all the records as well.
When we get our first Black Captain America, I mean, I will be there with
bells on.
Well, all the bells on.
Yeah.
I hope you don't, because don't fucking wear your bells in the goddamn movie theater.
I will wear
once. That shit's gonna make a racket.
I'll wear a shield and absolutely no blackface, and that's how I will go to that movie.
That is the correct way to go.
The correct way.
I know there's a lot to unpack here when we talk about Captain America, and especially as Americans, because he does represent so much. And I feel like one of the strong points, and one of the reasons I picked Captain America over Superman, is that Superman oftentimes, and don't call me out on this, but very oftentimes, is a very static character. Mm-hmm. And so his morals and his judgments always remain the same from one issue to another. But Captain America is somebody that we've seen that has had the willingness to change, to overcome racism, to overcome the things that would have held him down in his past, and said, these are not the things that make America, that we should all be equal and protected in America.
It's so much easier for Superman to fight for what's right, because Superman represents America. I mean, he's Superman. He's invulnerable. America's not invulnerable. At least it's never acted like it is. Mm-hmm. Captain America has the benefit of being able to be beaten, but getting up every time. That's kind of his whole stick.
Right.
He can do this all day. So if you're Captain America and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe we lost. Maybe we failed ourselves. Maybe we failed the people around us. But I'm going to keep up and I'm going to keep doing the right thing because that's right. That's far more American than anything Superman will ever be.
And he always believes, no matter how bad America gets, no matter in every story arc that he gets, where the government's doing bad things, he always believes that as long as we can overcome it, we can go back to the core ideals of America. Yes, the world will change, but being an American and taking care of other people is a human responsibility that we all have inside of us.
When you see someone, when your neighbor has less than you, you don't build a wall, you build a bigger table. That's exactly America, I hope.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the biggest points here. So, roundtable, kind of wrapping this whole discussion up. This topic was about the importance of Captain America, and I know that we've gone into a lot of different directions with it. But why do we actually think that Captain America is so important? Tony, why don't we start with you?
Fuck. I'm not prepared for that question.
We can have jump in if you want.
I can start, but are you going to use what we talked about earlier? Because if not, I'll say it. It's up to you.
If you really want me to do it, I'll do it.
Well, I mean, no, I can do it. I just didn't know if you were going to use it or not use it.
You know what? I'll go ahead and do it. So, listeners, this was an epiphany I came to while I was working on this episode, and it was an opinion that I was worried about bringing up on the episode because I realized it would be a little bit controversial.
It's pretty controversial.
So I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. military and what symbolism they use. So I'm just going to go quote for quote kind of what I had in our G-Chat conversation. I said, finishing up this episode has me thinking. You know what you see all these military guys have all the time? Punisher military shirts. You know what you don't see? Captain America military shirts. Because to them, to a lot of military guys, it's more important to shoot the bad guys than to really lead the charge for justice in the world. Mm-hmm. And that was my controversial opinion that I had while I was writing this episode.
And my response to that, I'm gonna just do it
off
the cuff here, but my immediate thought was that is what makes a hero, and that's what makes Captain America important. When you give your average human being a set of body armor and a gun, they're not really interested in defending the weak or doing what's right or carrying out justice. They're usually interested in using their newfound power to oppress those who have oppressed them, and or just being powerful for the sake of power. We see that with Thanos. We see that with with all kinds of war atrocities from every country in the world. Soldiers tend not to behave like heroes, and this is universal. Mm-hmm. Captain America, with all of his newfound power, decided to pick up a shield, not a gun, because he wanted to defend us, to defend what he thought was right, and it's a really important thing to say out loud.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tony, why is Captain America so important, just as a whole?
Overall, through his problematic history, through his obviously creation being part of war propaganda, to bad times in the 70s and in the 80s, the kind of forgotten about 90s, to a 2001 changed some shit and made him very, very angry. Captain America has always been an odd part of American pop culture. It wasn't until we had the Chris Evans and the Marvel Cinematic Universe did Captain America truly become the idealized version of what America should be. It always was kind of floating there in the comic books, but through the stories, he's always kind of being a douchebag. And that's kind of what America is anyway. We're kind of fucking douchebags. And maybe that is representative. Captain America is representative. Sometimes we do get angry and say, fuck you, French didn't do shit. And we won that war. And obviously things are completely fucking wrong.
Yep.
And I think that the history of Captain America shows us where we've gone wrong. And the modern interpretation with Chris Evans, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and hopefully where the comic books are starting to move more towards, we get an idealized version. Not the idealized version in that the perfect being that is Superman.
Right.
We want somebody who is fallible, somebody who will make the wrong mistakes, somebody who isn't who had to take up a shield to protect us and didn't use his fucking wind breath to protect us.
Somebody who can hurt for us.
Yes, somebody who is superior in that they got like a gene therapy and got more muscles and got faster, but you know what, there's still faster people on the planet. There's still stronger people than me. There's people that can do all this. I just heal really quick. Like that's his superpower.
Captain America can take a bullet for you. Superman can't.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that we've killed him and let him stay dead for quite a while. And at which point the Falcon took him over, and you know that showed America's true face. And they're like, got very upset about that.
Yeah.
And I think that shows us who America is through the death of Captain America. Like that shows us this part of America that we don't like. And I think that will help us make Captain America and America itself better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I was all over the place on that.
That's good.
No, I mean, like, Captain America represents a lot of things, and when you picture him in your head, that ideal, he, in my mind, embodies truth, justice, and the American way in a way that Superman can't. Because when you look at Superman, he's the ideal of the ideal. Captain America is the realistic expectation of the ideal.
Yeah.
We need to overcome sexism, racism. We need to look past people's sexuality, all of this to make America a better place. But we also know that we have to fight for it every single day. And we can't because if you think about Steve Rogers, blonde hair, blue-eyed white guy, could be the most privileged of the privileged, is willing to be there in the dirt with everybody else, fighting every single battle, saying, I know the privilege that I have. I'm putting up my shield to get you to be like where we can all be on an equal playing field.
Yep.
And I think that's the most important aspect of Captain America till the end of time, is that he's willing to raise up that shield for us.
Yep.
All right, everybody. I know this was a really deep episode. I thought it was going to be a really fun discussion about why Captain America is so important.
Hard no.
But as
knew that coming into it.
as we got deeper and deeper into this, man, I knew it was going to be kind of crazy. If you have any opinions about any of the news topics that we talked about this week, if you have any opinions about Captain America as a whole, Tony, where can they find us? Where can they talk to us?
Facebook.com/TheSurlyNerd. Like, share with your friends. @TheSurlyNerd is our Twitter account. Info@TheSurlyNerd.com is our email address. SurlyNerd.com is our website. Read some articles. There's a donate button on there. Twitch.tv/TheSurlyNerd. I almost tried to add a .com in there.
That's all right.
It doesn't have a .com.
It does not.
7:30-ish Central Mondays when we do this live stream. We're on all your podcast providers, on Spotify. Give us a thumbs up or whatever the fuck arbitrary system of rating these things have.
A +1.
No. No. Never give us a +1. That's never do that. If I get one more email ever in my life that's a +1, I'm going to actively hurt the person who sent it. I hate that shit.
All right. Well,
never do that. Also, pro tip, never send an email that just says +1 to anything. You deserve a flat tire.
All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. This was episode 317, all about Captain America. Happy 4th of July, America. We can do better, seriously. Believe in Captain America. Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
And I'm Hector.
Adventures, good night.
And good game. Sorry we didn't get to include your
No,
paragraph.
that was
I was like, how can we fit this in?
I was trying to figure out how to fit it in. Like that was like such a good statement. I'm like,
do I fold it over and then like stick it in there? Like, how do I fit this in there?
I'm glad that you enjoyed it, though. I meant this to be a fun topic, and the more and more I got into it, I was just like, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
This is heavy, especially given the current political
Yeah,
climate.
it's how I feel about this entire 4th of July. If I'm going to go out and look at fireworks and be like, yay, America, it's like, it's gross.
Look at it this way. Oh, the sky's on fire, too.
Oh, yeah, we just... it's not like 5 feet of ice and snow just fell in Mexico City today.
In the middle of, what is this? July 1st? Something?
In the middle of summer.
It's the beginning of summer. In summer's defense.
It's not a defense. This doesn't happen in
no
Mexico.
Defense for this.
It didn't happen anywhere.
And we did not once say this is not a political podcast in this section.
Shit, we didn't at all.
Nope.
Today
I was waiting for you to say it after Hector went off, or Hector to say it. I was like, okay, no, we're just not doing that anymore.
Today,
all right.
You know
we
what?
were emboldened by the spirit of Captain America.
Today was a political podcast because Captain America is never apolitical.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and sign us out. Because
Thank
there's
you,
this
Twitch.
really fucking warm cat sitting on me again. And I really don't want it to be.